feel that heavy electric tension in a room where nobody's saying a word, but you can practically feel the heat radiating off them? That's not just imagination. It's a psychological phenomenon where their eyes are literally undressing you, sending out high-frequency signals that most people completely miss because they're too caught up in the small talk. When someone is projecting this kind of raw, unfiltered desire, they aren't just looking at you. They are scanning your essence, creating a mental blueprint of intimacy without ever touching your skin. This is what I call the funk, that unmistakable primal frequency of attraction that bypasses the biological brain and hits your spirit and the nervous system. If you aren't tuned into these specific wavelengths, you might walk away from a life-changing connection, thinking it was just a friendly vibe, missing out on the deep, visceral chemistry that fuels the most passionate relationships in the world. If this specific insight just clicked for you, like you're finally seeing the patterns you've been missing, do me a favor and hit that like button. It helps me know I'm heading the right frequency with me, and it pushes the science to more people who need to hear it. The key to mastering this is understanding that eye contact during these moments isn't just about seeing, it's about the dilation and the way the gaze lingers on specific hot zones like your lips or your neck. When a person is undressing you with their eyes, their pupils often dilate as their brain flows with dopamine, making their gaze feel heavier, darker, and much more intentional than a standard social glance. You need to start paying attention to the micropauses and their visual rhythm, those split seconds where their eyes drift away and then snap back to yours with a renewed intensity. This isn't some Hollywood movie magic. It's a biological signaling that tells you exactly where you stand in their hierarchy of desire. Once you learn to recognize this specific funk in your daily interactions, you stop guessing about people's intentions and start reading the room with a level of psychological precision that most people can only dream of achieving. In your day-to-day life, whether you're on a first date or navigating a long-term partnership, you have to distinguish between polite attention and this deep, predatory kind of attraction. Polite attention is wide, scanning the environment and checking for social cues, whereas the funk is narrow, focused, and incredibly intense, almost as if the rest of the world has blurred into the background. When you feel that sensation of being watched, even when eyes aren't directly on you, or when a gaze feels like it has actual physical weight, that's the signal. I want you to start practicing active observation during your conversations. Instead of worrying about what you're going to say next, focus entirely on the way their eyes move across your face. If you notice them dropping their gaze to your mouth, and then immediately looking back into your eyes. They aren't just listening to your words, they are mainly engaging in a physical connection with you, and that is a massive green light. What's the most intense funk moment you've ever felt from someone's gaze? Tell me below. Now, let's talk about how you can use this psychological insight to actually improve the quality of your connections and stop playing guessing games in your romantic life. When you identify that someone is undressing you with their eyes, you don't necessarily have to jump straight into something physical. Instead, use it to build tension-based intimacy by acknowledging that energy, perhaps with a slight annoying smile or a subtle shift in your own body language. You validate the unspoken instruction and create a safe space for the desire to escalate naturally. This creates a feedback loop where both parties feel the funk more intensely, building a psychological bridge of tension that makes the eventual physical connection feel inevitable and incredibly powerful. People who master this don't chase distraction. They learn to recognize it, mirror it, and guide it, which puts them in a position of emotional and social power within any romantic dynamic they enter. It's also vital to realize that this level of intense visual signaling is a huge indicator of limbic resonance, which is the subconscious synchronization of two people's emotional states. When someone is undressing you with their eyes, they're essentially trying to sync their nervous system with yours, testing the waters to see if your body reacts to their visual hunger. You can feel this as a sudden spike in your own heart rate or a slight warmth in your chest, which is your body's way of confirming that the funk is mutual. If you ignore these somatic cues, the physical sensations in your own body, you're essentially ignoring your most honest psychological compass. Start trusting those gut feelings of heat or tension more than the actual words being spoken, because in the world of high-stakes attraction, the eyes are telling the truth that the mouth is too afraid or too polite to ever order. Have you ever caught someone undressing you with their eyes? How did you react? Applying this to your everyday social intelligence goes way beyond just dating. It's about reading the hidden currents of human desire in every environment you inhabit, whether it's a colleague, a new acquaintance, or a long-term partner. Understanding the difference between a social gaze and a desired gaze allows you to navigate social hierarchies and romantic opportunities with much more grace when you can see through the mask of politeness and recognize when someone is actually projecting attraction. You evade the embarrassment of misreading signals and the heartbreak of missing genuine opportunities. This isn't about being manipulative, it's about being highly perceptive. It's about having the psychological literacy to understand that humans are deeply sexual and social creatures who communicate most honestly through the subtle nonverbal funk that happens in the silence between between words. To wrap this all together, I want you to challenge yourself over the next week to be a visual detective in every significant interaction you have. Don't just look at people. Is there the intention behind their gaze, the duration of their eye contact, and the specific way their focus shifts when the conversation hits a certain emotional depth? When you start spotting those moments where someone is undressing you with their eyes, pay close attention to how it changes the frequency of the interaction. That shift, that sudden change in the air is defined, and once you felt it and recognize that, you can never go back to being a passive observer of your own life. You'll begin to move through the world with a heightened sense of awareness, turning every social encounter into an opportunity to understand the deep underlying drives that actually govern human connection and attraction. Don't leave your romantic life to chance. If you want to master the psychology of attraction and actually read the room like a pro, hit that subscribe button and join us. And before you go, I want to hear from you. Have you ever felt that funk or seen someone undressing you with their eyes? Tell me your story in the comments. I read every single one.